All right, so recently on Joe Rogan's subreddit, a lot of people have been goofing on him because sometimes on his podcast, he has trouble realizing when people are joking and he'll take things too literally, which usually makes things funnier most of the time, I'd say, when a comedian tells a joke and it just falls flat and Joe's just all confused by it. And comedians have even pointed this out. Like just a few weeks ago, Bert Kreischer was talking about it with Tim Dillon, and I think Tim Dillon talks about it a lot in his podcast as well.
Information.
My producer takes in a lot. Ben, he spends a lot of time online.
I love that you said, these are all Ben's rants. I'm just reciting them. And there was Rogan's notorious for not getting a joke.
Right.
There was a second where he was like, wait,
true, Mom?
And also people on Joe Rogan's subreddit, they posted a video that I think is kind of old, like a couple years old, but it's Annie Lederman or Lederman. I don't know how you say her name. The truck walk girl. And Joe List, some other comedian guy, I'm not really too sure who he is, but they're talking about the jokes that they made while they're on Joe's podcast that he just didn't get.
That people are forgetting that whether you agree with someone or not, they have the right to believe whatever they want.
Right.
Okay. And Rogan goes, even the Nazis? And I go, no, they have the third right. And he goes,
that's great.
He goes, you made me, I was going to have to be a Nazi sympathizer. He put me into a wall that I boxed my way out of with a quick joke. I said it that fast. Then he goes, isn't it Reich? And then Jamie looked up what Reich was. I was like, it's brilliant, I just saved myself from having to defend Nazis.
Yeah, and it's a good joke that worked. That joke would kill on my podcast.
Obviously, Joe's not going to understand every joke that someone makes on his podcast, but I think it's just funny the way he handles it, like when he doesn't understand a joke, because he's always like correcting the person and it just makes things so awkward, but also it just makes things funnier. Like here's the clip that Annie's talking about where she makes this joke and it's just so funny, Joe's response to it.
Hey, everyone has the right to be whatever the fuck they are.
Oh, you think?
I think so.
What about Nazis?
They have more of a right. A third right.
I don't think that's right. I think it's something. That's a different word. It's
Reich?
Yeah. What does that even mean? What is Third Reich?
I don't know.
I know what the Third Reich is, but I don't even know what it means. Take a guess. I literally have no idea what that means.
So usually whenever Theo Vaughn is on Joe's podcast, stuff like this happens. And one of the best examples of this is when Joe was talking about how people used to wear powdered wigs, and Theo makes a good joke about it, and Joe just takes it way too seriously.
It gets out of control and somebody gets sick and dies.
Did you know that that's where those powdered wigs came from? Those powdered wigs that old dudes used to wear and the people in court used to wear? And
oh, yeah.
That all came from a pair of rich, noble... Where were they again? In France?
Wiggers, I think they called them.
No, wiggers are white people that wish they were black. It's a totally different thing.
See, I think this reaction from Joe is even funnier than if he had laughed or if he did like his fake laugh.
And if you think there is... It's very like... I know everything. I kind of do agree with a lot of what he says.
Yeah, he's a smart guy.
But also in Joe's defense for him missing jokes, his podcast is kind of weird because he'll be like really serious, have on some serious guests where they talk about real shit, but then also he'll have on like comedians and his friends where they're just goofing around and telling jokes. So I just think sometimes when he has on a comedian, he'll take what they say a little too literally. Like, also, comedians actually will call him out on it and be like, Joe, I'm joking around. Take it easy. Like, Bill Burr, he had a great reaction.
I like the little skip step, too, like a cornerback.
Well, he's running at the guy with the camera and knocks him over.
The man achieved his goal, okay? As much as you don't approve of what he's doing.
He achieved his goal. No, she's still got the paper
I
in
know,
her hand.
I'm joking.
He grabbed her arm.
And also this happened with Kevin Smith. He was talking about how his dog that passed away, like he was one of the smartest dogs, and he was joking about how he helped him write screenplays. And Joe's like, wow, how'd he do that?
He wrote my 4 best movies. That's why he died. I made Tusk and Yoga Hosers. Like, without that dog writing for me.
How'd he write for you?
It's a joke, Joe. He was feral. He was just saying he was so smart.
Oh.
He was so smart. How smart was he? He's so smart he wrote my last few scripts. Joke didn't quite land. Sorry,
I was missing something. I wasn't paying attention.
I didn't set it up properly.
So again, I'd rather have Joe say something like that than do his fake laugh or that like noise he'll make once in a while. That just seems like you told a cheesy joke that he has to laugh at. And Mark Norman actually called him out for this while he was on his podcast with Joe List, the guy that I was talking about earlier. So I guess that's who Joe List is, a guy that does a podcast with Mark Norman.
A cricket. One guy goes, "Huh." You know that guy, you know, like the condescending, like meh, meh, meh.
Yeah,
that's
like a sheep.
Yeah, Rogan does that shit. You know, he goes meh, meh. You're like, fuck you, you bald.
He does do that.
I hate the meh, meh.
I'm like, it was pretty good.
Also, I feel like Joe just doesn't find quick-witted humor as funny as frat humor, or like Joey Diaz talking about shitting outside or farting on a school bus or something. He likes that stuff that's just easy to understand. Like Joey Diaz says something gross and it's funny, which it is. Sometimes Joey Diaz can be funny, but I just think Joe Rogan will laugh at anything Joey Diaz says. Like if Joey Diaz tells a story about something gross he did, Joe Rogan will die of laughter. Like Joe Rogan's a pretty simple guy when it comes to comedy. I mean, he's a stool fucker.
Stool fucking, if it's the right bit, can be funny.
Really?
But it has to be a real comic with a real reason to fuck that stool. There has to be something to it.
Why do you do that? It looks dumb, all right?
That is probably one of the greatest Joe Rogan quotes of all time. Like, the comedians out there better be taking notes because that is some insightful advice right there. And if you haven't seen that full video, I highly recommend go checking it out. It's called Fine Arts of Stool Humping. So now I just want to get to one more example of Joe completely missing a joke and making things really awkward. And this was hilarious. I'm sure most people have seen this. It's when Shane Gillis was on Joe's podcast for the first time, and he's talking about the whole SNL debacle. And Shane was telling the story, and he said that he met with Lorne Michaels after he got canceled, and people are trying to have him removed from the show. And he's like, listen, it's not that big of a deal if I get fired, because next week I'll just go on the Joe Rogan Experience, and I'll be fine. And he was telling this to Joe, and Joe's like, what do you mean? What are you talking about? He's just all confused by it.
And I was like, whatever, I'll do. If I get fired here, whatever, I'll just go do Joe Rogan next week and I'll be fine. Anyway, I thought that was funny. No?
What?
I was like, I literally.
Is that what you thought?
I literally thought that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I thought it would be funny.
Well, it could have been funny.
Yeah.
I was booked up, though.
No, it was fine. It was just funny to truly. That was a conversation I actually had.
Really?
In Lorne Michaels' office in the middle of that.
That's hilarious.
I was in pure fucking panic.
Terror?
Yeah. But
because I remember somebody contacted me.
And some of the comments to this clip are great. This person said, if Joe laughed, the joke would have been no big deal, would have come and gone. The fact that Joe didn't laugh made the joke historic. This is a special moment. And I agree. You know, if Joe just laughs at these jokes, it'd just be like, all right, whatever. But the fact that he doesn't laugh makes it even funnier. And see, that's why Joe's such a good comedian. Real comedians, they unintentionally make people laugh. Like, screw comedians that are actually funny. I like watching Brendan Schaub and Duff Noodles. That's where the real comedy's at. Those two are at the top of the game right now. So this other person commented, it's okay, Shane. When I watch Joe's stand-up, I don't know when to laugh either. So I guess that person's not a fan of stool humping. Like, that's when you're supposed to laugh, once Joe mounts the stool. Alright, so that's about it for this video. Thanks for watching. Make sure you hit the like button, leave me a comment, let me know what you think about all this, and then hit the subscribe button, and I'll catch you at the next video.